The biggest mistake of his life was entirely of his own making. Our story begins back in May 2024 with a video essayist of the name In Praise of Shadows, real name Zane. Zane often made content about horror movies and received relative success for it, with multiple videos of his achieving view counts in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions. However, his generally positive reputation would be utterly destroyed because of a single video. That video was called Bad Conservative Horror Movies, which was immediately spotted by Wendigooners within 15 minutes. And we'll get to why that's important in just a moment. The video would very quickly disclose its political allegiances after Zane made an offhanded remark about having attended a redneck horror convention in North Carolina. It became very obvious very fast that Zane had a very strong left-wing bias. Now in theory, this shouldn't be a problem. Most people that make video essays probably have some sort of political allegiances, and in your video essay, you're more than allowed to look at a subject from a political perspective. Especially if you do it quite often, you'll more than likely build up an audience that have the same views as you. However, if you're ever going to make a politically biased video essay, you must make sure that your arguments have a basis in reality. Otherwise, people will call you out, and they won't be wrong for doing so. And one very common damning theme in the Bad Conservative Horror Movies video is that In Praise of Shadows would constantly make jabs at conservatives without actually having any real evidence to back his points up. A lot of his points were just mere opinion, like how left-leaning horror often reflects real-world experience, whereas conservative horror is more focused on consumerism and entertainment, with no real emotion or meaning behind it. Now, this doesn't make for a good video. Poorly backed up points that are just trying to reaffirm your own self-beliefs, it's poor content, but at the very least, it's forgivable. Most video essayists have missed the mark in the past. Not every video concept will be as strong as the last one. However, when you bring real people into the mix and you're no longer talking about fiction, that's when you cross a line. If you said that, I don't know, Raya the Last Dragon is a rip-off of Avatar the Last Airbender, it would be insanity to get cancelled because of that, unless the most toxic Twitter trolls and self-cannibalizing leaks around found it. But the second that you bring real people into the conversation, now if you make claims that are not based in reality and you don't have the proof to back it up, whatever you say will still have real consequences. And so when In Praise of Shadows then began mentioning real YouTubers, the video changed from baseless but harmless to a direct, ill-informed attack. The main attack he levied was against Wendigoon, a very successful YouTuber who, if you've watched this channel for a long time, I would suspect you know, because he's mainly known for iceberg, conspiracy theory, and horror content, which back in the day I used to make quite a lot. On a personal level though, Wendigoon is also a proud Christian, and he's made a lot of content in the past about religion. However, In Praise of Shadows within his video made huge broad strokes and overgeneralizations implying that Wendigoon, like many proud Christians, have ties to far-right extremism.
And that, like many people who talk about being Christians as much as he does, has a dark past with deep ties to far-right extremism.
What he's essentially saying here is that if you're proudly your religion, if you're overtly that online, you are therefore associated with the furthest, most extreme and hateful members of your belief. These are gross overgeneralizations. In Praise of Shadows then accused Wendigoon of being part of the Boogaloo Boys, a far-right group, because he used to have a username that was Boogaloo Boy. Wendigoon dismissed these accusations years ago on a Reddit thread, but in Zane's mind, because of the username, because of his speculated right-wing stance, because of Hawaiian shirts of all things, and because he's associated with the dirty devil that is Turkey Tom, he's confirmed to be a member of the far right. This is very weak source for an allegation. Unless you have any confirmation, anything that is concrete, you shouldn't be saying these things. But then things get even worse. The next accusation he makes is that because Wendigoon is from Appalachia, which is a very white, Christian, conservative area of the United States, that all but confirms it.
Deep Appalachia is very white country, and for the most part, is exceptionally racist. Genuinely in this part of the country, you have to assume that any white person you meet is racist unless they show you otherwise.
What he's essentially doing here is he's grouping together an entire community of people, millions and millions of people, and acting as if they're all a monolith, that they all act the same way and vote for the same person and do the same things and hold the same views, which when discussing bigotry and racism is extremely hypocritical. As you might expect, the video was very obviously panned, and In Praise of Shadows received intense backlash from basically every content creator that he mentioned. Well, all but one. Wendigoon probably made the most calm and composed response, despite the fact that he was the one in the crosshairs the most. And his response only proved as further evidence that Zane's video was a misfire.
To him directly, I'm sorry, for this perception of anything I've given you. I'm sorry if I've ever devalued from you or your channel. I apologize, and I sincerely mean it. I hope you find whatever you're looking for. I want everyone, regardless if they like me or not, to do well. Christ didn't say love people who are nice to you. He just said love people.
In Praise of Shadows would take several months off after this, returning in October to a video that's seen many more dislikes than likes. And in fact, to this very day, his videos still see a lot of hate. Their performances are also much weaker. He hasn't broken a six-figure video since the Bad Conservative Horror Movies upload. And so this attempted cancellation of Wendigoon backfired to the most severe proportions. To this very day, I really don't know what his problem was. It seemed to me like he had some sort of problem with something else, and he just misplaced his anger in a horrible, spiteful fashion, which has essentially ended his online credibility. But that's not the only time that an attempted cancellation did more damage to the accuser than the accused. In this video, we'll be going through several more cases, such as one cancellation attempt where the accuser was exposed for using language even more severe than the language they were policing, and another cancellation attempt that resulted in various charities potentially losing out on thousands of dollars. But for now, allow me to turn your attention to the most recent story we have today. It concerns a, dare I say it? Minecraft YouTuber. So you already know that things are about to get spicy. So our story is about a man known as Skeppy. In case you don't know him, he's quite a large content creator with more than 6 million subscribers, with his most popular videos having tens of millions of views. Many people watching this might know him as one of the members of the Dream SMP, having previously collaborated with some of the largest and also most infamous names in gaming. However, if there's one thing you know about the members of the Dream SMP, you'll know that many of them have since had very serious allegations levied against them. Wilbur, Dream, George, puns, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a few others. So unfortunately, given the community's infamy and reputation, I think that a lot of people, upon hearing that one of the former members has been accused of something, will be more likely to believe it. And in the past few weeks, there were false allegations thrown against Skeppy, real name Zach Ahmed. The 25-year-old was accused by two people known as Kaya and Seasire, who released their exposés at the same time. This was therefore a coordinated attack. Kaya's statement said that she met him between late 2022 and early 2023. She was 16 at the time, and he was 22 to 23 years old. They interacted on various Minecraft servers, and he apparently, on several occasions, called her pretty. I'm sure you're wondering, what else did he do? And so is everyone else. The main problem with this allegation is that just like, apparently, Jeffrey Epstein's list, it doesn't actually exist. If you read through the entire statement, there is not a single instance where she lays out something that is grooming. She threw his name out there within a document that was seen by millions of people just for the love of the game. She even later clarified that her belief that he groomed her was incorrect. Congratulations, it almost took you destroying a man's reputation and career to learn this lesson. Now, I do think it's a bit strange that Skeppy was playing Minecraft with a 16-year-old when he was 22 or 23, but it's not a crime and you can't get cancelled for that unless there's more severe behaviour. Otherwise, Philza would have been cancelled fucking years ago. Their Discord messages eventually leaked, and I'm sorry, but call me the vegan teacher because this is the most meatless nothing burger I have ever tasted. As for Seasire, she claimed that she dated him when she was 18 and he was 24. Her perspective was that their relationship was legal but immoral, and she accused him of being manipulative and essentially being a bad boyfriend. But once more, being a bad partner is not a cancelable offence. Unless he did DV or SA or something else that was way over the line, you can't cancel him for that. Is dating an 18-year-old when you're 24 weird behaviour? To many people, yes, but it's not illegal, and therefore it's just preference. There are no hard rules about dating someone who is over the age of 18. That is when the law says they are big enough and wise enough to make their own decisions. The closest thing that we might have is the rule of half your age plus 7, but no court of law in the world is going to hold that up as a legal fact. Throwing out grooming allegations is incredibly irresponsible if nothing has actually happened. Skeppy would make a video response to the allegations where he said this.
Hey, okay, so I'm making this update video to talk about a few things, mostly regarding the community post I put out a few days ago. Basically, there was an account that put out some horrible, serious, and fake allegations about me. It had spread on the internet quickly, and eventually it was all taken back and deleted because the accusations were just completely false from the start. I'm glad the users retracted, deleted, or apologized for what they posted, but it certainly did not undo all the harm it caused. So I'm deciding right now if I want to file a lawsuit, but in the meanwhile, I ask that nobody sends hate or threats or anything like that to these people because that's just not going to help anyone.
Given that these two might be seeing legal action now, I would definitely argue that this cancellation attempt backfired to the most severe proportions. There has been a very disturbing rise of fake allegations made over the past several years. Skeppy is not the only person to go through this. So let me know down below in the comments section if you want to see me make a full video on fake allegations, because especially in the wake of the Skeppy and now the Corey X Kenshin stuff happening in the past 2 or 3 weeks, it seems like it's becoming almost like a monthly occurrence. And of course, whilst you're down there, if you're enjoying this video, then please make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would seriously appreciate it. But from allegations made only a few weeks ago to a story that's set more than a decade ago, we're now turning our attention to a Rooster Teeth employee that got more than she bargained for after she tried to call out the company. So the next piece of drama we have tore apart the Rooster Teeth community in late 2022. It all started after a former member of Rooster Teeth known as Jenzen came out with a statement revealing some malpractice within the company. For example, she revealed that she was unpaid for almost a year at the company between her arrival in February 2013 and in November of that year. In fact, a lot of the complaints were regarding Kdin being underpaid. But while that certainly appears to have been a problem, it's not the focal point of this story. What we're focusing on is something else. Kdin revealed that during that time in 2013, she was given a very rude nickname. A nickname that I cannot say in this video because it's a homophobic slur. And it's probably the one that you're thinking about. Now, to be given a slur as a nickname is very clearly immature, it's unprofessional, and it has no place in the work environment. However, the nickname stuck so hard that it got a nickname that members of Rooster Teeth would use out in public. Given the context of me saying this, I hope you'll forgive me, Kdin was called Fugs out in public. And even within the Rooster Teeth community, many fans ended up calling her that name as they didn't know the meaning behind it. Eventually, in 2016, Kdin came out as trans, and that's when she says that the nicknames stopped being used. So for 3 years, she had slurs directed at her in her workplace every single day. But her mistreatment didn't end there. She actually said that things got worse afterwards. Here's a screenshot of her statements to TLDR, so pause now if you want to read it. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, okay, if that's true, then why am I including Kdin in this video? Well, you see, the problem comes in when it was revealed that Kdin was no saint either. While I don't think it's appropriate for anyone to be given a slur nickname in the workplace, it wasn't like Kdin's hands weren't dirty, as it was soon revealed that she too had a history of saying slurs. In fact, Kdin said slurs for just about every group of people under the sun. We're talking slurs towards Jewish people, slurs towards disabled people, slurs towards black people, even the very same homophobic slurs that Kdin would later complain about. Most of the internet agreed that while it isn't appropriate to be saying any kinds of slurs in the workplace, it was very hypocritical that Kdin was trying to call them out for this, even though she too had a history of doing it. In fact, a 4-minute video was uploaded to YouTube, which is a compilation of several instances where Kdin said slurs and did racist impressions. The entire ordeal made many people question how someone who used these slurs so liberally could then get offended when the slurs were used at them. In many fans' eyes, this just made Kdin look hypocritical, and it really undermined any moral argument that she had. Don't get me wrong, Kdin still had a reason to be upset. Having your name taken off projects, being underpaid and undervalued, belittled and all the rest, for years on end, that will negatively impact you. but much of the drama coming out at the time was specifically about the slur nickname, which now just seemed to be an instance of pot calling the kettle black. The entire situation made everyone that came out of it look horrendous. This was mutually assured destruction for both Rooster Teeth and Kdin. Today, Kdin's tweets have been removed, and the Twitlonger has been taken down. So I question whether if she could play the situation out again, would she have made these statements in the first place? Let me know down in the comment section, what do you think of this situation, because it's definitely a more layered controversy. And as you do that, let's move on to Idubbbz, who must have thought that reviving Content Cop and putting down H3H3 would spark huge interest in his boxing event and put him in the good graces of the internet's chronically online left wing. But as you might already know, his Content Cop on H3H3 really boomeranged and hit him right off his perch. Now, a big part of this story is that Idubbbz called out H3H3 for reasons that we'll get to in a moment when he had a big event coming up that he was the organizer of, that being Creator Clash 3. In case you're out of the loop, this was going to be the third installment of his boxing series where the proceeds of the event went to charity. The first one, I think it's fair to say, was a success. The second one, though, I think it's fair to say flopped harder than a Brazilian football player. The actual event didn't make its money back, and so Idubbbz had to go live doing a bunch of forfeits and challenges to have any money donated to the charities, and this upset fighters and audiences alike. Therefore, Creator Clash 3 was on the back burner, and many people thought that it would never happen. But several months ago, it was announced that it would in fact go ahead. The problem was, though, that after the second installment, people weren't exactly optimistic. And any shred of optimism that anyone had was immediately extinguished once everyone saw the card. This was the card, and if you notice anything wrong with it, you wouldn't be alone. Whereas in the first two events Idubbbz headlined, this time he was nowhere to be found. It was LA Beast versus Harley Morenstein from Epic Mealtime headlining, and no offense to either, but they're not exactly the biggest draws, especially in 2025. On top of that, there's no real story here. At least with Idubbbz, a lot of people might tune in to see him get punched in the face. People don't have the same reaction to Harley Morenstein or LA Beast. What the event organizers fail to realize, and this is something that should seem obvious, is that bad blood, drama, and conflict sell tickets. The best boxing matches, YouTube or otherwise, are the ones where you believe that the two competitors actually hate each other. Now, you don't need to have bad blood for all of them. This is a charity event at the end of the day. We as fans understand. You don't even need to have it be real beef. Probably 99% of boxing beef is fake, but you need to make it seem like the competitors hate each other, because otherwise, especially when you have no conflict like Creator Clash had, it just makes the entire event seem one note and dull, and no one is going to buy a ticket to see it if they think the event will be boring. The gimmick of content creators stepping into a boxing ring and fighting, by this point, is probably about a decade old. We've seen it happen before. You need to give us, as fans, something new. Now, I have to admit that some of these names are big, and while I don't think that the event would have succeeded, perhaps it wouldn't have been a total failure. But then Idubbbz goes and attacks H3H3, who was actually a friend of Idubbbz in the past. All things considered, this was the season finale for the unemployed. The cornerstone of Idubbbz Content Cop on H3H3 was that he and Hassan Piker, huge names in the live streaming world, had a podcast together. But then, after the Israel-Palestine conflict went down, their relationship very quickly imploded. Now, essentially everyone involved in this Content Cop has said some pretty reprehensible things in the past. They're all controversial creators. Hassan, H3, and especially Frogan. The best thing that Idubbbz could have done in this situation was sit out of it, for several reasons. Number one, there were people in the cards such as Lena Ayad that were very close to H3H3. I believe that she works on his podcast. She dropped out within 2 weeks of the Content Cop. Number two, the people that he's now aligned with have more cons than pros. Harley Morenstein, one of the headline fighters, dropped out because he didn't like that Idubbbz was now associated with Hassan. It sounds like common sense, but when it comes to a boxing event, you have to keep the headliners happy. In theory, they're who most people are coming to see. And I'm sorry, but Hassan fans and Frogan fans will not be watching this event. You don't get anything from defending them. And number three, it was generally deemed as a bad Content Cop. It has just over a 50-50 like to dislike ratio. It caused unnecessary heat and overshadowed the event, and it led to Idubbbz and Anissa stepping away. But then things got even worse, as it was later revealed that Idubbbz and Anissa were going to receive 34% of the event's profits. To many onlookers, this made any point that Idubbbz was making about morality and ethics null and void if he was going to take 34% of the profits away from a charity event. I think that a better route for him would have been to take that 34%, or potentially otherwise a split from the event's revenue, and directly donate it to a Palestinian charity. That would have allowed him to support the Palestinian cause whilst also allowing the event to go on unencumbered by this drama. But that takes us to July 2025, only 3 months after the content cop dropped. Earlier this month, it was announced that the event was fully cancelled, with no more ever to take place. From a purely event management perspective, the call-out utterly destroyed it. The fighters that spent months of their life training for this had now done it for nothing. Fans that spent their hard-earned cash to book flights and hotels now had to try and get a refund. And this went down as one of, if not the biggest event blunder in internet history. Idubbbz has done a lot that he regrets in his life, but I do wonder whether his handling of this situation will be near the top of that list. That said, if you don't want to have regrets on the next video you watch, I think you should check out my video on the dark side of sympathy scams. These people also saw incredible backfires for faking to have disabilities, illnesses, and tragedies online. It's definitely worth checking out. Aside from that, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.